Now we'll move on to other stories. The Center for Credible Leadership and Citizens Awareness, alongside other NGOs, have lent their voice to the coalition of civil society organizations working to strengthen Nigeria's electoral process, who are calling on President Muhammadu Buhari to withdraw the nomination into the Independent National Electoral Commission of 4 nominees sent for the REC nominations. In an interview with journalists, the leader of the Center for Credible Leadership and Citizens Awareness, Gabriel Nwambu, cited Section 156 1A of the 1999 Constitution, which prohibits the appointment of any person who is a member of a political party as a member of the Independent National Electoral Commission, saying the appointment of these individuals as RECs will significantly undermine the neutrality and impartiality of the Independent National Electoral Commission, and it will increase mistrust in INEC and Nigeria's electoral process. Well, joining me right now is the Director General of the Center, Gabriel Nwambu, and of course, Arise analyst, Dr. Sam Amadi, who will help us to understand this opposition by CSOs to the nomination of these REC nominees. Thank you so much, Gabriel, for joining us. Let's talk about 4 of these REC nominees that you have issues with. One of them is from Sokoto State, like we have heard, that used to be an APC Deputy Governorship aspirant or so. Just tell us more about why there's this large opposition, huge opposition against the REC nominees.
Thank you so much for having me. First of all, following the compulsory 5-year tenure for resident electoral commissioners in Nigeria, 19 of them were billed for replacement. In other words, the president deemed it fit to renominate, 5 of them, and then 14 were entirely new into the system. And now, out of the 14 now, there are very serious pertinent questions that keep arising, amongst the 4 that were afresh, undermining the fact that we've not done an appraisal. The 5 that were even renominated, we need to do a needs assessment to be sure that they really performed optimally, before the reappointment. But these 4 in question now, one of them is Professor Muhammad Lawan, who was a governorship aspirant in 2015 in Sokoto State. Somebody that is a card-carrying member, contradicting very clearly, the provisions of Section 156, subsection 1A, which very clearly states the criteria for the appointment of, any person that must be in the decision-making body of INEC. You see, what we are saying actually is that elections are, Nigerians, the populace, the electorates are beginning to feel that their votes are beginning to count. If you see, I was in Osun, I was also in Ekiti State, as head of mission election observation. We saw, we've never hit that threshold of 40% participation. We saw it in Osun State. And we saw the zeal, even very elderly people coming out to want to make a mark. This situation now is trying to make rubbish of all the efforts, including the amendment of the latest electoral Act 2022 as amended. Okay. Because the people are feeling that once these persons are confirmed by the Senate, which I believe they will not do, it has destroyed the entire trust. It will cause mistrust in INEC. It's going to impair negatively in our electoral system. And I tell you, we'll go back to less than 1960, where Nigeria just had independence.
Okay, Dr. Sam Amadi, one of the nominees is Sylvia Uchenna-Agu. She's said to be the younger sister of the APC Deputy National Chairman of the Southeast, Emmanuel Enugu, and she's the nominee for Enugu State. I don't know why it's difficult for us to be able to have the nomination authority not doing their background checks before doing this.
Well, it's not like they don't. It's probably intended. Don't forget that most of these include the past nominees. Somebody nominates them. And the problem with the constitutional basis is that the president has a discretion to nominate. And so, not just in Nigeria, all over the world, president nominees are persons either whose ideology, views align with the president's. He likes those people, or people who are overtly partisan. The problem is that the INEC is required not to be partisan constitutionally. And so it requires a background check. Now, the onus on the National Assembly, for example, any person who is a member, de facto or de jure, you have a card, for you to be a candidate for election as governor, definitely a partisan, should not even be on that list at all.
Even when you are compensated in person for at least.
But that's not a position that's the problem. This position is insulated and isolated from politics. That's what the Constitution presumes. But look at the problem. The first problem is that we've said that we should have a change of mode of appointment. President Jonathan, after being in power himself and making some of those appointments, came to say that actually it doesn't make sense. Across Africa, in South Africa, they use stakeholder and merit based. So, like who is recommended? It's really sad that PDP, I think under Yar'Adua Jonathan, did not go full hog with the Uwais report. The Uwais report was very clear. Something like NJC. Now, it doesn't mean that those officers will not be corrupt, but it gives you the presumption that they're not partisan overtly. They can still be reached and compromised. But that first protection, that you're not putting somebody who is a member of a political party, who wanted to be a governor of that political party, to now supervise elections is out of the way. Now, the woman who is a brother or a sister to a partisan person does not necessarily get disqualified by virtue of that relationship. I mean, I would argue that she could be politically neutral. If she has integrity and credibility and a person that has a qualification for the job, the relationship with a politically exposed person or a person shouldn't nullify you, because basically she or he could be non-partisan. But so there are clear thresholds. There are those that are gray, like this case where is a friend or sister or a wife of X. We've seen what's going in the U.S. the Supreme Court with Justice Thomas and his wife.
So when did it become a crime to actually become a brother or sister
that
to
one,
someone?
I think, is off the cuff. But the one of a member who ran an election, partisan, who's a political office, or even like the lady who rejected Loretta. She was
Loretta Onochia.
She was on social media, on conventional media, very partisan. So you can draw the line that this is a member of this party. But somebody who is related to somebody else, and maybe his brother helped to put his name there as a form of Nigerian looking for a job. I think that's not enough.
All right, Gabriel Nwambu, we're not back to the days of having the issues where the CSOs will have to be shouting everywhere like it happened with Zachary of INEC in those days. If eventually these people find their way into INEC.
You see, for me, I would think the reoccurrences is becoming one error too many, same error too many. Last year, when Onochie was appointed, it was very, very evident, very clear that this person is partisan. Why would you want that person to become a national commissioner? These appointments now, too, you see persons like Pauline Onyekugochi from the nominee from Imo State, who was an INEC staff, head of ICT in Imo State. Somebody that has been alleged to have compromised the system, alleged to have, compromised the elections, colluded with a lot of politicians, and the matters are still on. Yeah,
but the thing is that she wasn't taken to court, and then a judgment has been found against her.
Now there are petitions everywhere that she is even alleged to have compromised the continuous voters registration in Omuma local government.
And have you provided the facts to the Senate?
See, we have written the Senate, and we're going to do even more writings. We might even want to come out and present ourselves for talks with the Senate. You see, once you create a scenario out of over 200 million persons, you don't have persons that are political. I want to ask you a question. Can you imagine what would have happened in Nigeria if Professor Atahuru Jega, who was appointed by Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, suppose he was alleged or to have believed to be a member of the PDP, do you think he would have announced President Muhammadu Buhari as the winner of that election? He wouldn't have, obviously.
But under the PDP, didn't we see some people who were openly partisan also being
appointed
in INEC?
You see, I don't like to make comparison in this manner. The immediate past president went to the civil societies to pick people. Some of them performed. Mike Igini is there. He performed exceedingly well. Look at Festus Okoye, what he's doing now in INEC. You will see that these people are focused.
But it's still the president's prerogative not to choose from civil society.
Yeah, he can choose from anywhere. NJC is there. You have a lot of Nigerians. I said over 200 million Nigerians. You don't see people who are not card-carrying members contradicting, you know, the third schedule very clearly. You know, it's something that would, you know, retard this country. Once anything is perceived to cause mistrust, then you've destroyed the entire electoral. So they should be dropped. They should be dropped. There are other Nigerians that are even better qualified. There are more Nigerians that, you know, that can even deliver. Why should it be these people that are so questionable?
All right.
Okay, that of Ebonyi State, for instance. This is a woman, Mrs. Queen Elizabeth Agu, that is a former accountant general of the state that was allegedly suspended on grounds of incompetence and corruption, and it matters as even in court on corruption basis. So why are you reappointing? Why are you appointing these people? There are Nigerians that have very clean slates, you know, for which the president can choose, you know, persons to represent the country in the decision-making body of INEC. Some persons have also argued that resident electoral commissioners do not matter. You know, anybody can be. The issue is with Professor Mahmoud. But I tell you something. Professor Mahmoud is just a national.
Very quickly, I'm told that we don't have enough time left.
Professor Mahmoud is just a national collation officer.
Officer.
All he does is to read or to tabulate or to put together a summation of all the things that have been said from the respective states.
All right,
so if the states are biased or occupied or manned by persons that are purely politically inclined,
okay.
It becomes a nonsense of the entire
Thank you so much, Dr. Gabriel Nwambu. Unfortunately, I've been told that we don't have enough time. But you are our own Dr. Sam Amadi, Arise News analyst. We must thank you immensely for providing this perspective to us earlier on. Of course, Dr. Gabriel Nwambu of the Citizen Center. We must eventually continue to commend CSOs for bringing these issues to the fore, because if not, this is how it will just slide through without a lot of Nigerians knowing. But we must thank you for being on the program. Well, that's how it's been for this edition of the Arise interview. Do join us again tomorrow. From me and the entire team here in Abuja. Goodbye. Thank you for watching. I'm Sona Sambo.